Hi everybody, welcome to another spoken English session from Brahmastra Academy. In the past few days, I've been getting a lot of inquiries and a lot of questions on about how to increase our vocabulary. Now, vocabulary, there are very many ways of increasing your vocabulary. They are reading novels, reading newspapers, watching movies, talking in English. But we are going to start off with the most simplest forms of vocabulary and how you can improve them. There are two things in English. They are known as prefixes and suffix. Now, what do I mean by this? A prefix is a set of words or a set of letters, that is added to a word to change the whole meaning. In the same way, a suffix is something that is added to a word to change the meaning. So what is the difference between these two? Prefix comes before the word. Suffix comes after the word. Right? You may have seen this in a lot of conversations, in a lot of movies that they use prefix and suffixes, but we don't realize that. Now, here I'm going to show you some typical examples of a prefix and a suffix. For example, acceptable. What does this mean? This is something which is accepted. It is normal in everyday life. That is something in regards to acceptable. Now, we want to change this into a vocabulary. We use the prefix known as un. Now this becomes unacceptable. Are you getting me? So basically the meaning has changed into the opposite of acceptable because we added a prefix. So what I mean by this is when you say, oh, I do not expect this or I do not expect this, you can say this is unacceptable, which means that you dislike it. It is not according to standard. So when you start using prefixes and suffixes, this is the baseline of increasing your vocabulary from a very beginner's level. I'll give you another example. Very simple word. This is do, right? And if you use computers, you have come across this word. Undo. Basically what this means is whatever you have done, revert back to what you have done, right? So we are using prefixes to give us more useful words, and this is easy for beginners. I'll tell you why. You may make some mistakes. Dispensable, that means it is something which can be thrown away, which can be used one time. But if I use the prefix indispensable, now that means what? You cannot do without it. It is compulsory for you to have it there and there. Without this, anything is impossible to do. Now, first we were doing un, now it is this. There are very many prefixes, but we are going to focus on the 7 or 8 types of prefixes that are used more than 99% of the times, right? That will continue in our next video. But for now, I'm briefly explaining what prefixes functions are, right? So, we have seen these prefixes. Let us go to another prefix. Which one are those? There are very many. Even I keep on forgetting them sometimes. But let us go to the suffixes, right? So, scholar. What does a scholar mean? Someone, a person who is very educated and who is teaching or something like a professor. Excuse me. Now, if we add this scholarly, what does that mean? That means this is a verb. This has become a verb from what? A noun. Excuse me. We added a suffix to this. Now, what has happened is this changed the whole meaning of the word. The first word was scholar. Scholar means a person who is teaching, who is very well educated and is teaching about a specific subject. Excuse me. When we add ly to that, a person becomes scholarly. So, for example, If I'm a scholar, I'm teaching you, so I'm a scholar. Now, if I go outside and I'm talking to people and I'm giving them some advice, so people will come and tell me, oh, this guy is scholarly, he's giving you scholarly examples. Basically, what they're trying to say is the verb, that the action that I'm doing is scholarly. So, as we have seen today, a prefix, I'll explain again. This is a word added to the beginning of another word to change its meaning, right? So we can see that a pre, this basically means before. Pre means before. We have seen prenatal clinic, pre-exams, pre-something, preliminary, all these things. This means prior or before. So basically before a word, right? So these are the set of letters of a group of words added to a word prior to the word beginning. For example, un, in. These are just two examples. In our next video, we will go into details on how we are supposed to use the suffixes and the prefixes. So, this is basically a good way to start improving your vocabulary. You can start using suffixes and prefixes, and trust me, you will make a lot of mistakes. I mean, tell me, who has not made mistakes in English and they've just come up one day and I know English? No. You will learn from your mistakes. The more mistakes you learn, the more mistakes you make, the more you're going to learn. So don't be scared of making mistakes. There are only two things that can happen. Either a person will laugh at you because you don't know, then that person might not be well educated. Because if an educated person will show some kind of respect, he will rectify you and not laugh at you. So you don't need to worry about the general public that, oh, I made a mistake, people will laugh at me, and then they're stupid. I'm sorry to say this, but making mistakes is part of learning, right? So we have a prefix. In the same scenario, we have suffix. Sorry. This is a word added to another word at the end to change the meaning, right? As we saw, an example was scholar, right? So we can see that a scholar is a well-educated person who is giving you advice or is teaching something. But if we add the suffix ly, scholarly. Now, basically, what's happened? It's not compulsory for a person to be a scholar to give you scholarly advice. For example, somebody has experienced something from his daily routine life and he is giving you some kind of advice. So we can say Jane, who is an ordinary lady, is giving scholarly advice, right? What does this mean? Does not mean that Jane is a scholar. But now you see, the word scholar itself has so much leverage to it. What it's trying to show you is that Jane is giving some kind of educated advice. So we can see just by adding this suffix to it, excuse me, the whole meaning of the word has changed. Now, when you're speaking to a group of people, when you start using these small words, it really improves your English and it gives you that benefit that people are going to listen to you and okay, this guy knows English. He's trying to speak in English, and that will give you some leverage over the others. So, as I say, prefix and suffix. In our next video, we are going to continue in details on how to use suffixes, how to use them, what rules apply, what kind of prefix and suffixes are there. But basically, the lesson for today was how do you improve your vocabulary or how do you speak fluently. we are going to start off with the first stage. We are going to start using prefixes and suffixes. Start using them in your daily life. Something like precedented, you say unprecedented, that was unexpected, expected and unexpected. You see, they are words we use in our everyday conversation without realizing they are prefixes and suffixes. But if we start using them on a daily basis, trust me, 10%, 15%, that is a lot of improvement in our daily speaking activity. So I need you to try and start using the suffixes and prefixes. And as we always say, if you have doubts, if you have questions, please feel free to comment in the comments below. And if you still have doubts, you can call us, or you can come visit us our physical address, which is Brahmastra Academy, which is located at 4th floor, Megmalhar Complex, Sector 11, Gandhinagar, Gujarat. And I hope these videos are benefiting you. Please, if you see there some kind of improvements we could make, you see the thing over here we are trying to do is reach the masses. We want your feedback on how we can improve our videos. As I always say, I'm also human, you're human. We make mistakes, but we learn from our mistakes. So your feedback is very important for us. And till then, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.